This is going to be an amazing 2 days. You know, Mikey said something that I spoke about in London. We did an event in London, and I told everybody, there's two camps of people. There's the camp who wants information, and there's a camp that wants transformation. And I think I'm a great person to speak about it, because for 3 years, I was just gathering information, creating no results. And I am always blessed because I had the best mentor in the world in Bob Proctor. And I remember our first conversation. He used to call me kid. So he said, "Kid, you don't know this. You know about it." And he said, "Are you ready to do the real serious shit?" And I remember that's exactly what he told me. And I remember thinking, I've never had anybody talk to me like this. So it made me want to listen even more. And he said, there's so many people who just study this. He said, I want you to be it. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you to understand transformation is our birthright. Right now, where you are is not even close to where you're going to be in 48 hours. You're going to leave here, and you're going to be thinking about these ideas. Now, there's going to be another side that's going to say, is it going to work? We don't give that side any attention. I want you only to focus on what you want. There's a big difference between knowing and experiencing. Knowing is nothing. Experiencing is when you've done it. Now, I know in every program that we deliver that our clients are going to get results. Now, I don't wonder that. I know it because I've done it. And there's nothing that I'm going to teach you over the next 2 days that I am wondering if it works. I know that I know that I know that it works. But I don't even want you to take my opinion on it. Talk to people. Like, there's people sitting in this room who've created massive transformation in the last 6 to 24 months. I'm looking at Kim right now and thinking about, we were at an event, and she said, I don't know how in the world I'm going to do what you're saying. And now she's doing it. And what I will tell you is there's great people in here that you want to connect with. But to transform, you have to understand you. Everybody says they're going to change, but why doesn't everybody change? It's because they never make a committed decision that I'm going to change. I want you to make that committed decision right now that forget about anybody else in this room. There's a reason you're sitting in here. And I want you to go within yourself and just activate the idea that I can live a life of freedom. For me, it's not about the money. It's not about the notoriety. It's about living the way you want to live, living on your terms. I want you to imagine, I don't know anybody who doesn't want to be free. I've been blessed to be around a lot of big thinkers in my life. And the one commonality is they were always chasing a feeling. That's what all our goals are. We're not going after a thing. We're not going after a monetary value. We're going after a feeling that that value represents. So everything you guys want is going to demand you to transform. But let's look at what transformation means. It's a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. The induced or spontaneous change of one element into another. Now, right now, you could be blaming conditions or circumstances, but I want you to leave those in this room. From this moment, it's never the conditions or circumstances that are holding us back. It's always us. So we've got to get to know us better. We've got to really get to know us better. I was driving from my house to the seminar today, and I was telling a couple of our coaches, they were driving with me, and I said, I want you to look yourself in the mirror. I said, that is this much of who we are. We've got to connect to the essence of who we are, where all our power is. All your goals are not out there. They're tapping inside of you, and that's how you're going to experience it in your physical world. But most people don't think of it like that. So they're always chasing results. They're chasing titles. It's never going to be about a title. It's going to be about you. And so we have to first honor you, because one truth that I learned many years ago, our personal growth is worth investing in. It is a currency, whether we're investing in it or not. All of you spent your time to come here, spent your money, and I want to congratulate you. I really want to congratulate you, because you don't know where this will take you. You can always measure what something costs, but you can never measure where it'll take you, ever. I remember I was talking to Peter a couple weeks ago, and I said, Peter, you got to get in this room. I said, everything you're telling me, I need you to be in this room, and bring your wife. And right away, I think within a few hours, he signed up. Now, why did I tell him to be in this room? This room is going to be filled up anyway. Like, I wasn't worried about it being filled up, but I was doing it for him, because when you're in a room of like-minded people, magic happens. You guys will stay connected beyond this event. You know, I have a group of people in here who came to my World Class Wealth event, and they've been masterminding. How long have you guys been masterminding for?
We're on 72 weeks.
72 weeks, and they all did not know each other. It's the magic of this room. So I want you to get to know each other. Don't be shy. Really open yourself up and be authentic. But we've got to understand, you all deserve to create a world-class life. But in order for us to do this, we have to embrace world-class. You have one chance to live your best life that we know of. And I want you to create a positive impact. When we create a positive impact, it gives us so much juice. Now we're not connected to the ego, we're in the spirit of what we're doing. I want you to make intentional decisions. Intention changed my life. Once I learned intention, and all intention is frequency of thought. You know, there's a word that I'm not that fond of that's been polarized, which is manifestation. I don't hate the word, I hate the connection that everybody has towards it. Because they think I'm going to close my eyes and visualize, and then I'm going to get the results. That's not how it works. You have to build your character. You have to do the work. But if you ask somebody what manifestation is, they'll say, I'm a great manifester. And then I never have had anyone tell me, I manifest really bad shit in my life. It's always, I'm a great manifester, right? But all manifestation is our deepest intentions on an unconscious level. Now, I've went on a deep dive of studying intention. Intention will change the game for you if it's not unconscious, if you're consciously knowing the outcome before you start. Now, I want you guys to think about, what are you going to get out of these 2 days? What you put in, you're going to get out. What do you want to get out of it? Let's set the intention of what you want to get out. My intention for all of you is to wake you up with bigger ideas, to wake you up to have a breakthrough to connecting to who you are, so you have no limitations. But you can spend your days how you want, but it's all dependent on how you see yourself. I encourage you to see yourself right now that you're the best of the best and you're living the best life you've ever lived, regardless of what's happened to this point. Now, if I can do it, anybody can do it. If I can earn millions, anybody can earn millions. If I can have great experience, anybody can. Because I started really in a bad spot when I got into this information. I was $150,000 in debt, had a foreclosure sticker on my garage, but that was the day I bet on myself. Now, if you looked at my history, there was no way I should have bet on myself. I really should not have. But that was the day I started living, the moment I bet on myself. And I want you to bet on yourself right now. There's no better person to bet on. It doesn't matter what color our skin is. It doesn't matter how tall we are. It doesn't matter our build. None of it matters. What matters is how we understand ourselves and how you understand how to use your mind. But we're going to build big ideas in this room. Now, I want you to think of your goal. right now, what you want, is that what you think you can achieve? Do you think it's a big idea? Are you comfortable with that goal? If you're comfortable, I'll tell you right now, it's the wrong goal. I will tell you that right now. It is the wrong goal. It's not going to grow you. It's not going to build you. So you want to pick a goal that you don't know how you're going to achieve it. But I don't want you to have a goal that's a wish or a hope. I want you to have one that you're going to dedicate your life, because our goals, we're committing our life to doing them. Now that may be for 6 months, that may be for 3 months, that may be for 4 years. It's dependent on the goal. But ask yourself, do I have a goal that's worthy of me right now? Am I working with a big idea, or am I working with a comfortable idea? And I want you to really ask yourself that question. Now, everything that has happened in your life to this moment has prepared you for something far greater than you can even imagine. Far greater than you can even imagine. But that means all your failures, all the starting and stopping, all the shaming, all the positive impact you make, everything has prepared you for something far greater. But it doesn't matter if I say this, you've got to accept the idea that big things are ahead for you. Now, if I say that, what are you thinking? I want you to get into that voice. That voice is that old story we're going to change. That voice is the biggest liar we have in our lives. But we never make decisions based on our bank account. We never make decisions based on our environment. We make it based on, how do I really want to live? How do I really want to live? Now, there's going to be a lot that I'm going to tell you over the next 2 days that are going to be super counterintuitive to your programming. And it's going to come up against a lot of walls. Some of you are going to say, he doesn't know my situation. He doesn't know my childhood. He doesn't know I have kids. I know it all. I know it all because all of us are the same. All of us have challenges. You know, you may be going through a tough time right now. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. I remember when I was first getting mentored by my mentor, Bob Proctor, he said, for this to work, you've got to build toughness. And you've got to build a significant identity for yourself. And he said, this doesn't work if you're not constantly being obsessed about getting better. Now, I was naive enough at that time that I didn't question whether it would work. I just said, I'm going to do exactly what he told me to do. So he told me I had to build courage and toughness, so that's what I did. It's not about living a courage-free life. But we want to understand success is so simple. I want you to burn this in your mind. If this is all you get in the next 2 days, if you're a business owner, it'll change your life. You will never scale yourself or your business with a complex process. Complexity is the enemy of success. You want to make it so simple. Like, I hope I do a great job of communicating effectively with you over the next 2 days to make this so simple for you. But success comes down to a few simple choices. We have to, number one, decide exactly what we want. What do you really want? Number two, you have to determine the price you have to pay. What is that price? That price is going to be discipline. That price is going to be jumping out of your comfort zone. That price is going to be raising your standards. That price is going to be changing your program. And then you have to ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price? But I will tell you the one truth that I've learned over the last 17 years of really doing this work every day is it is always going to take whatever it takes. Like Trevor, if you said, well, Arash, what is it going to take for me? I said, I don't know. The goal determines whatever it takes. I don't determine whatever it takes, but the goal will always tell me where I have to stretch. But what if I told you you're going to spend the time anyway, so why wouldn't you pay the price? Why wouldn't you? Why are we screwing around with our lives saying next week I'm going to do it? I'm going to commit, then I'm going to go back. See, we don't understand who we are. If we understand who we were on a deep subconscious level, we would never doubt ourselves. And I want you right now, every doubt you have, I want you to doubt them. Just for 2 days. Just see what happens. Make it into a game. Just say, for 2 days, I'm just going to doubt my doubts. And then you can do whatever you want when you leave the room. Now, you have to want your goal. You have to want success as badly as you want to breathe. I always share the story of Socrates. I loved hearing it. I'm a big sports fan. I heard Pat Riley share this story with his team too. And Socrates, a guy came to Socrates' lake house and said, Socrates, I want to be as great of a philosopher as you. And Socrates takes him back to the lake, and he says, bend down. And he gets on his knees, and he grabs him by the neck, and he holds his head underwater. He's just holding it underwater. Then he brings his head out, and he said, what were you thinking? He said, all I wanted to do was breathe. And then Socrates said, if you want to be as great of a philosopher as me, you have to want it as badly as you want to breathe. That's what the goal demands. Your want has to be so strong. There's a concept called principle over precedence. And I remember my mentor used to talk to me about this. He said, Arash, we have to be so locked in on principle over precedence. And I said, I need you to simplify it for me in one sentence what that means. I said, I think I know what it means, but I said, I'd like to understand it from your awareness. And he said, your want has to be so much greater than the circumstances. Now, I want you to look at yourselves right now. Right now, are my circumstances greater than my wants? Now, it's not good or bad. 20 years ago, my circumstances were greater than my wants, so I got a PhD into losing. So I kept studying this, but I was losing. And then, finally, I said, my way's not working. And I surrounded myself with people who were creating far better results, and I studied them. I studied them so closely. I studied how they talked. I studied their confidence. Confidence is so easy to get. All you have to do is do things out of your comfort zone. You're going to become confident. Too many people are living their old story thinking last year determines this year. And it's so far from the truth, but they keep creating the same results year in and year out. Most people are living the same year for 60 years. It's the same year for 60 years. They're doing the same thing over and over again. So, do you know what you want? I want you to get clear on your want, because if you're not clear on your want, this work will not work. What do you want more than anything else in the world? Now, the biggest sabotager that people have, I know this. I get this a lot. Arash, I know this. And I say, okay, tell me your results. And they'll say, well, I'm not creating the results I want. Then I say, then you don't know it. Your results will always tell you how well you understand this philosophy. So now you may say you know it better than last year. That's true. You may know it better than last week. But hold your standard to how you want to live. Never weaken that standard. Stop accepting lesser goals and hold yourself firmly to your core values. There's a reason you want to live a certain way. Now, I told you this earlier, we have to suspend doubt. We have to willingly give ourselves permission to suspend doubt. When you do that, everything's going to change. I was sharing you the story of Kim. That's what I did with Kim. I got her to suspend her doubt. Once I got the doubt out of the way, what do you know? There's a blank slate. But she had to own that and say, I'm going to live a new model. I always talk to people about this. I never try changing my old model. My old model is already there. What I work on every day is building a new model. If there's a table here that says, beat your personal best every day. That's all I focus on. If you just focus on beating your best, not beating my best, my results, my daily processes are for me. Yours are for you. We want to start running our own race, not chasing other people's race. A lot of people are competing against the wrong person. They're competing against somebody out there. The only competition is with our potential. The only competition is with our past self. When you start competing against yourself and beating your personal best, your life is going to transform. Now, just because you didn't do something last year does not mean you can't master it this year. Why do I say that? Because maybe you weren't all in last year. Maybe you started and stopped and you didn't have great discipline. Maybe you didn't have great courage. We've got to stop starting and stopping. It is hindering us more than you could ever know. If you have a goal that you want, if you have a business you want to build, focus on building that business. And understand there's going to be a lot of adversity in the beginning. Then there's going to be a lot of adversity in the middle. Then it's going to be glorious at the end. That's what it takes. But people start building an idea, and then they give in. They say it's not working. We have to do the work long enough. Give yourself 90 days. Then do it another 90 days. And in 6 months of not giving in, you'll be blown away by what you've created. Now, in order to do this, we have to make an irrevocable committed decision. That is a decision that I am done doing what's convenient. I give myself a command. This is what I'm creating no matter what. This is what I'm creating. Now that's where it starts. Nothing happens until we make a decision. Like Caesar, I want you to think of your want right now. Now, the way I want you to think about it, it would be impossible for it not to be achieved. I don't care what your circumstances are. That's based on your past self. That's based on where you were thinking last year, 6 months ago. From this point on, how you think is going to determine your results. From this point on. So I want you to eliminate self-sabotage. One of the greatest self-sabotaging behaviors is not accepting the right ideas. We're accepting the comfortable ideas. So we have to let that go. But how do we? It's not good enough just to make a decision. Now you have to back it with courage every day. That courage is, I'm going to bet on myself. I want you to think of people you admire. Think of the people you admire. You see how they live. You see their confidence. But I promise you, they're not living a courage-free life. They keep upping their courage every single day. Courage is something we have to consistently develop. Your current level of courage has gotten you to where you are. So your next level of courage is going to keep raising the game and raising how you experience life. But courage is not a one-time act. It's not one time I get courage. You can activate your courage one act at a time. It's something that we have to do over and over and over again. And when you do that, everything's going to change. Like, I'm thinking of RJ right now. I was on a call with him last week. I said, RJ, what do you want? RJ, how old are you? 24. He said, Arash, I want to be one of the best coaches in the world. And I said, I want you to be the best coach in the world. Now, that's somebody who has courage, 24 years old, has no idea, very limited understanding of the industry, but he's got guts. And so he's easy for me to tap into, because all I have to do is give him my standard, just give it away to him. And the more he keeps implementing it, that's what he's going to do. See, whenever I work with you, I've worked with some of you very closely. Whatever you tell me you want, it's already done in my mind. It's already done in my mind. I never coach you from where you are. I coach you from where you want to be. And that's how you have to coach yourself. You have to daily stop obsessing about where you are, and I want you to obsess about where you want to be. And when you do that, you're going to make success so effortless. But I want every one of us right now to take an honest look at your present results right now. And understand they're not happening by accident. We can only attract what we're in harmony with. So we've got to get really honest with ourselves. We don't beat ourselves up, but understand everything you've thought to this point is giving you your current set of results. I want you to really understand that. So what does that mean? How can I use that? Well, what we have to do is think much bigger. I'm going to teach you how I think over the next 2 days. And I'm not going to teach you what to think. I'm going to teach you how to think. I want all your thinking to be coming from your future that you want to create. I want your thinking coming from the goal. And as you do that, you're going to create the results you want. But every day, The one obstacle that every one of us has in our way is present results. It's present results. We have to train ourselves not to let the present results think for us. That's what most people are doing. That's what I used to do. If my results were great, I'd be so high. If they'd low, I'd be that low. I used to say I felt so sorry for my wife. She didn't know what end we were going on. Like if we were doing well, I mean, I was fun to be around. But then if we weren't, I was probably miserable to be around. And thank God I changed that, because that was a terrible way of living. But that was the way I had always lived. So I didn't have anybody tell me that was the wrong way until I invested in the right mentorship. Then I started thinking from my mentor's paradigm. I started thinking from my mentor's ideas. That's why mentorship is the greatest cheat code any of us can ever have. Your present results are just a story. They're a story of where you were in the past. That's all they are. Your goal is not bigger than you. It's just a goal. So we've got to start understanding who we are if we're going to create the life we want. Now, this is something, I was talking to somebody outside before we came in, and they said, Arash, I have a sabotage. I constantly sabotage myself. And I said, it's about your hidden commitments. There's something in your life right now, and it's a hidden commitment which you think you can bring with you to your future. But I promise you, you can't. It's a part of your story that you keep repeating over and over again. What is a hidden commitment? I wonder what my spouse is going to think. What is a hidden commitment? Procrastination. What is a hidden commitment? I'm not good enough. We want to identify what our hidden commitment. What is another one? I already know this. Hidden commitment. So we've got to look at what is our hidden commitment. And we have to identify it, and we have to let it go. We got to let it go right away. The hidden commitment you're married to. You are absolutely married to it. Like, I have a hidden commitment being a Dallas Cowboys fan. It is misery. It is absolute misery. I'll tell you that. But I'm married to it. I'm married to it. It's just what it is. But we have to find out what our hidden commitment is. Most of you probably have no idea because you've never thought about it. What is your hidden commitment? Now, if you look at the notes you're taking, I don't want this just to be notes, this was a great couple days. I want you to turn your notes into a game plan. Now, I'm going to go over so many ideas. You don't have to implement all the ideas that we're going to go over 2 days to create massive success. But we work on a few ideas, then you go back to your notes and you say, I'm going to work on those next few ideas when I've made the first few a part of my identity. Too many people are trying to work on everything at once. So you want to, I study one thing until it's part of my identity. I do not move on. And then I'll keep studying it and studying it and studying it. Then when it's a part of me, I'm doing it automatic, then I go to the next idea. So whatever your hidden commitment is, we want to make a decision we're going to let that go. It doesn't serve us anymore. It doesn't serve us. Tigran, what's your hidden commitment? Do you know?
Probably trying to harmonize the people I know with my future.
Okay. So here's what we got to understand. So if it was me, I'd say that's not my responsibility. I'm going to let that go. I can't harmonize with that. I'm going to live the way I live. And if they're on board, great. If they're not, great. And because when you're trying to make somebody a part of your story, then you're working against the law. You know, we can't violate the rules of the law. But I want to make it so simple that you change your perception around it. And as soon as you change your perception, you let that go. There's going to be a lot of people on your journey that do not believe in anything that I'm going to tell you guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've got to let them be them. There's people that are not a part of this in my journey. It's not that I lost the relationship. I just talked to them about different things. And so it's okay for people not to accept the way you live. It's okay. You just find the commonality. But we've got to stop protecting ourselves from who we want to be. This is the greatest sabotager that we are practicing in our life every day. We say, I want to create X, but I'm holding back. Why am I holding back? What if I don't do it? Well, what if you don't do it? What if you do it? Why are we so connected to what if we don't do it? It is a bad philosophy. We've got to look at what if up or what if down. What if down is always from our past self. It will always negotiate with your present self to keep you stuck. We've got to focus on what if up. What if I could 10x my income in 2025? What if I could do it in the first 6 months of 25? What if I fell in love with that idea, I let it percolate inside of me, and I let myself free? We have got to stop protecting ourselves from who we want to be. And you are going to fall. You're not a robot. I don't expect you to be a robot. I don't expect you to be perfect every day. But I expect you to expect the best for yourself. If you want to create the life you want, you've got to go all in. You can't go 80% in. 80% in is 0% in. That's the rule. We're all in or we're not. So we have to understand who you are. You are infinite. Now, this is a huge idea. I don't expect any of us to really understand it. We can't understand on an emotional level the amount of power we have inside of us. Our job is to become more and more aware of it. Everybody has potential, so potential is not enough. Every one of us has potential, but that's not enough. It's our defining choices are going to dictate how we live. What are the choices I'm making? Am I making it from the weakest side of myself, from holding back? That's the weakest side of my personality. Every time we let present results control us, we're tapping into the weakest side of ourselves. Or am I tapping into the highest side of my personality, where I have an intellect that will take me anywhere I want to go in terms of our results, how I use my intellect. So we've got to start becoming more and more aware of who we are. And you've got to understand this. You, right now, have an absolutely amazing story. You are an amazing story. But if I ask you, tell me the most amazing thing about your story, most people would be like, I don't think my story is that great, because they don't understand who they are. Your story from when you were born till now has been amazing. And when we start seeing ourselves as amazing, we're going to set ourselves up to win. Now, you could be sitting there right now and really losing. Doesn't mean you don't have an amazing story. It means you don't have amazing behaviors. It may mean you don't have amazing confidence, but it does not mean you do not have an amazing story. Now, everyone has greatness inside of them. You may not have brought it to the surface yet because you're holding back. But we have got to tap into your greatness. I love how Zig Ziglar says it. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. So procrastination has to be eliminated. We've got to eliminate procrastination. And every one of you are doing it at some level. So that's number one, what we have to eliminate. But let's understand, if we're going to tap into the infiniteness, we have to already see ourselves as great. Now, I'm going to do a lesson on identity tomorrow, and I'm going to get you to commit to seeing yourself as the best in the world at what you want to do. But greatness is about attracting what you expect. Do I expect what I want in my life, or am I hoping? It's reflecting on your desire. Everything comes from your desire. And it's becoming what you respect. You know, James Allen said it perfectly. He said, we don't get what we want, we get who we are. So it's about developing us. It's really about developing us. And look at your results. They're a mirror of what you're putting out. That's all. That's all. That's all it is. But greatness is not a destination. It's a continuous journey. Mikey and I were doing a podcast last week, and we talked about successful living. And I said, when I first started this, I was going to a target, and I said, when I get here, I'm there. And then I got there, and I said, I'm not there. And then I learned that success is not an event. It's a day-by-day standard of how you live. It's constantly building our life day by day. That's what success is. And what we have to understand, it takes a commitment. Committing to excellence means you're showing up and doing your work. Doing your work part-time, that's not the work. The work is not in your activities. The work is in building your identity. That's where the real work is. That's how you activate your automatic success mechanism, in doing what it takes to achieve your goal, whatever that means. That's what the work is. Now, how well do you understand your mind? Now, I think everyone in this room understands they have a conscious mind, they have a subconscious mind, and they have a body. Understanding the laws of the mind is absolutely essential if you want to live a life of freedom. So if we understood our mind, then why are we playing small? Why are we playing small? If we understood our mind, why are we trying to be liked? See, we understand about our mind. We've got to really live in harmony with the laws of our mind. And so we have to understand it's all in awareness. Once you have awareness, it's there. When we first learned how to ride a bike, 30 years later, we could still ride a bike, because once it's in your awareness, it's there. When you make earning money a habit, it's in your awareness, you're never going to have trouble earning money. You're never going to have trouble earning money. But for most people, it's not in their awareness. They've never learned the rules of how their mind works. They've learned about it, but they've never learned the rules. There's an amazing inner world that exists within all of us. And the understanding of that world will allow you to achieve anything you want in harmony with the laws of the universe. We cannot violate the laws. I can't win and take from Paul. I won't win. It will not work. I'd be violating the laws. So what I do is I root for Paul to win bigger than I win. We want to bless everybody. We want to bless our errors. We want to bless our mistakes. But when you start tapping inside of you, that's where your goals are. That's where your dreams are. That's where freedom is. Freedom is never out there. I remember I was going to buy a house, and I told my mentor, I go, do you think I had to put, which was a lot of money at the point, I have to put $250,000 down for this house. And he said, well, what'd you save the money for? And I said, good point. And then he said, you still think freedom's your bank account. Your bank account isn't freedom. He said, freedom's an inside job. And he said, Arash, if you don't have it inside, you don't have it. That very moment, an hour later, I wired the $250,000. It was like nothing. It was my perception had to change. I was letting the bank account dictate freedom. And it's never been my freedom. My freedom is me. If I can win, and I believe I can win, that's free. I remember when I left, when my mentor passed away, I had outgrown the environment and I made a decision to leave. Now, I walked away from a multiple seven-figure guaranteed salary. And I didn't even think twice about it. Why? Because I had created a strong enough identity that I knew I could do it even better, but doing what I love. That's what I want you to think about. Like, bet on yourself. That's where your freedom is. The freedom is not your circumstances. The freedom is really creating the right habits and the right security within yourself. But you have to understand, when you get in harmony with the spiritual essence of who you are, that's when the magic happens. You have perfection inside of you. Your spiritual DNA is absolutely perfect. I don't care if you're 16, if you're 62. It does not matter. When you start getting in harmony with the spiritual essence of who you are, that's when the magic happens. But in order to get in harmony with the spiritual essence of who you are, you have to understand, how does my mind work and how am I using my mind? Every time I played small, I was using my mind against me. Every single time. This is so freaking simple. We figure out what we want, we accept the idea, we get obsessed with that idea, and it goes inside of us. That's all it is. But we have to control our emotions, control our thinking to create what we want. And that's exactly how it happens. Now, there's a law of vibration attraction, but most people don't understand it. The law of vibration starts within us. It's not out there. It's how we think. That's what activates the law. And the law states that we can have anything we want as long as we believe it on a deep subconscious level. So Mary, don't you think it's a good idea right now to get your goal so deep inside of you?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all you have to do. You get it so deep inside of you, then the law works for itself. See, we have to start understanding this. And, I don't want you to be as slow as a learner as I was. My mentor told me his mentor, Leland Val Vanderwall, taught him this drawing. And he said, Arash, it was the number one most important idea I ever learned. So every time, I had watched him teach it 1,000 times. But then one day I called him, I said, Bob, you know what? I think I know about this. And then he said, oh, that's a bad idea. He said, I need you to know this. So for 2 weeks, he had me teach it to him. He had me teach him every part of the conscious, subconscious, and the body. Then as my days were going on, every time I'd think, I'd be like, oh, that's in the conscious. I'm too intellectual. And so I really understood this on a deep emotional level. So every time I was thinking in a certain way, I was thinking with intention. Because I wanted to know how my mind was working, and then I wanted to co-create exactly what I wanted. But let's look at this. Your conscious mind is your thinking mind. It's where your intellect resides. And however you're using your conscious mind right now is how you're creating your results. If you look at your environment right now, that's how you're using your conscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. It only understands emotion. So when we have really monotone energy, we're not getting to our subconscious. So we have to understand, with our wants, we have to get emotionally involved with what we want. Until we're emotionally involved with what we want, you see where this says gatekeeper? You never even get it to your subconscious part of your mind. It never even goes past your conscious mind. Now, how do I get emotionally involved with what I want? I have to fall in love with that idea. I want that idea to use me. Everything I think of is from my want. My want is not for me to get, it's to build my character. But if I don't get it to my subconscious mind, no matter how much I study this, the results are not going to change from year to year. They're not going to change. Now, I studied this for 3 years, never got to my subconscious mind. Why? Because I was doing too many things. Quantum leaps are about elimination. They're about a few things. But this, you have to understand. If you don't understand this, none of this is going to work. Now, you could choose any idea you want. Are you choosing ideas that are worthy of you? Or are you choosing what you think you can achieve? Are you choosing what you think you can achieve? And you can originate any idea. Like, I want you to originate big ideas. I want you to originate ideas where your environment's you are going to influence them by your courage. But it has to be what you want, not what I want for you. Now, the most important part of your conscious mind to master is accepting and rejecting ideas. Now, it's going to sound so simple right now when I tell you this, but accepting and rejecting ideas is how you discipline your thinking. But I have been working with clients over and over and over again, and they said, I forgot about accepting and rejecting. Accepting and rejecting is eliminating limiting thoughts and only activating your automatic success mechanism. That's what discipline is. Discipline is accepting and rejecting. But I want you to make a decision that you're going to accept and reject from your future self. So if my future self would say no, then I say no. If my future self would say yes, then I say yes. Right now, if you want to create a big jump in your results, I promise you, what you're saying yes to, you have to start saying no to, and what you're saying no to, you have to start saying yes to. Let your goal determine that. But if you just did it for 30 days, it will become a habit. You will stop doubting yourself. You have to be fearless, but we have to get so good at accepting and rejecting ideas. Now, the subconscious mind cannot reject, it only accepts. So if any of you accept an idea, oh, I'm not good enough, you say it silently, I promise you it's going inside of you. Your imagination takes it to your subconscious mind. And once it's there, it's there. It's going to be expressed in your reality. It will be expressed in your reality. But so it cannot reject. So we have to discipline ourselves. From this point forward, every idea I accept is coming from my goal. Every idea is coming from my future self, not my past self. Now, when you do that, you're going to change the game. I used to have such a hard time with discipline. I had such a hard time with it. I thought every time I heard the word, I'd be like, oh, that's not me. Because I was a great starter and a terrible finisher. But I didn't understand what discipline was. I thought it was my activities. Your activities are an effect of accepting and rejecting. So when you get great at accepting and rejecting, you're going to change the game. But here's the part. I'm not asking you to be reckless. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real or what's imagined. It does not know the difference. I always train, when I do sales training, I train every sales professional. I don't care if you sold that day. At night you say, it was so amazing that I made one or more sales. What you're doing is you're training your future self on a subconscious level like you're making sales. See, but this is a hard thing for people to understand. Like I think Einstein said it the best. Imagination takes us everywhere. See, all of you have heard about visualization and closing your eyes to visualize. We're using our imagination with our eyes open by every idea we're accepting, either consciously or unconsciously. It is going inside of us. I want you to become a master at your imagination. And when you do that, you're going to change the game. But understand this, how you use your intellectual mind is what's getting into your subconscious mind. And it's the intellect that allows us to tap into the spiritual side and change our physical results. Now, this is extremely challenging if you're married to your old story. If you're going by Newton's outdated perspective that the past determines the present determines the future, that is not accurate. Well, it can be accurate if you believe it. But you want to just look at what you want, and our job is to match the mental equivalent. So if I want something far greater, what is the mental equivalent? Greater confidence, greater strategies, more courage, more discipline, greater standards. And when we do that, you're going to change the game. We have to start understanding us. Not the physical us, but the spiritual side of us, and follow the rules. But it's all going to start with, what do you really want? If we are not committed to this want, then we're going to go on autopilot and we're going to continue drifting. We're going to continue drifting. What do you really want? And you accept that. Like it's impossible for it not to happen. When you accept it, it is impossible for it not to happen. I did this, I have a real elite mentorship program called Peak Performers. And every quarter we do a 4-hour review. Last week we did a review. Almost on every session, I talk about radically accepting what you want. So we're doing this Q&A, and some of you in the room were on it. And the majority of the people never accepted what they wanted. Well, if we're not accepting what we want, guess what we're really accepting? What we don't want. Then you wonder, why am I not getting the results? I have to radically accept what I want. This is done. It is done. I don't need to worry about how it's going to be done, but it is done. And you have to understand, never be satisfied. We are not meant to be satisfied. The spiritual essence of who we are is to grow. It's to expand. That's where a lot of people make real big mistakes when they are creating goals. They will achieve a goal, then they don't set a new and bigger one right away. So what happens? They literally get depressed. Why? Because the whole part of the goal achievement process is the release of dopamine. That's what we're really going after, that feeling. So satisfaction is what creates complacency, and complacency robs you of how you are meant to live. Now, world-class people never keep their energy on what is, so you've got to train yourself right now. I am only putting my mind on how I want to live, not on what my present circumstances are. You can't put your thoughts on what's missing. When this happens, then I'll do this. You can't put your thoughts on your present results. You can't put your thoughts on the past or what others want for you. If you do, you're not living your race. Now, how you're thinking right now is a currency. It is a currency. Like if I look at what I earn, it's based on how I've been thinking. So if I want to upgrade my earnings, I have to upgrade my thinking. Same thing for you. It doesn't matter where we all are. We're just at different parts of the journey. So when I was really losing, my thinking was really losing. So once I changed my thinking, I changed my life. But then we go, thinking. That's all it is? Try it. Try it for 30 days. You'll watch how much your life changes. Michael, how much has your life changed since July?
My income's more than doubled.
Since July?
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Because we started thinking different, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many months is that? July, August, September, October. 4 months.
Yes.
How would you like to double your income in 4 months? You know, all I did was put a carrot in front of Michael. Michael decided to do it. You know, that's all it is. Like we're telling ourselves this story that it's hard. It's not hard. It may not be easy, but it's better to accept that it's going to be easy than hard. It's just different. It's not hard. It's just different. So we have to be different. But world-class performers are never done growing. Ask yourself this question: am I obsessed about getting better? Am I obsessed about constantly evolving? That'll tell you a story. And world-class performers are constantly reinventing themselves, constantly reinventing themselves. Do I reinvent myself? You know, but world-class performers, they believe in themselves even when the results are crappy. They don't stop believing in themselves. They know they're capable of more, and they're motivated, and they're always working with an attitude of urgency. They're always working with an attitude of urgency. See, when we start doing this, we're going to start. The greatest work that I ever do is not up here. It's the preparation I do when none of you see me. It's what I do behind the scenes. I was telling my team, I woke up at 2 in the morning this morning. Every time I do an event, it's like clockwork. 2, 3 in the morning, I'm up, I'm thinking about the presentation. Because that's where my greatest work is. When we're out on the playing field, it's an effect of what we're doing in our preparation. You know, your practice is where the work is. When you are practicing and you keep practicing over and over and over again until you can't get it wrong, I promise you, you're going to be rewarded so greatly. And you show up every day and you're constantly practicing with the only carrot in front of you is I'm going to get better than I was yesterday. That's how you get greatness. You get better. You stack greatness every day, over and over and over again. And you're always beating your personal best. But it's about habits. What habits no longer work with you anymore? The greatest habit that we've got to really assess is our story. Is my story still the story I want? We've got to let go of that story. And then you've got to ask yourself, what habits must I install over the next year to make it the best year of my life? And they're not 10 habits. Do you realize if you create 4 upgraded identity-based behavior habits a year, you'll 10x every year? Every year. 4. But that means it's a habit when it's harder not to do than it is to do. When it is automatic. 4 a year. And if you will commit to doing that 4, I promise you, you're going to live very differently. But number 1 is your pinnacle habit that'll bring all your other habits up. What is that one habit right now for you that would be an absolute game changer in your life? Maybe it's I activate my I don't give an F muscle. I know that one was a really good one for me. When I stopped worrying about whether I was going to win or lose and I just went after it, it changed my life. Why do you think you're holding back? You're too much in your analytical mind. Your ego's driving you. So if your ego's driving you, how can you be free? How can you create great results if you're comparing it to my results? Or you're comparing it to being perfect? Perfectionism is a serious problem. And we have to let go of that. When we let go of that, we break ourselves free. Break ourselves free. So it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. I think pain is good too. A lot of people don't talk about pain. I think pain is a great motivator. And what will your life look like if you don't achieve your goals? Like, I never want to be at the end of the year and I didn't achieve my goals. That's a bad thought. Like, that's why I keep motivating myself. You know, one of my greatest motivators is the fear of mediocrity. I never want to go back to how I used to live. I never want to be paycheck to paycheck again. I never want another foreclosure sticker on my garage. I never want to go back to live small. I used to live small. So that's one of my motivators. Now, it's going to demand you to think differently. It's going to demand you to be an outlier in your environment. Are you willing to take that price? Are you willing to pay that price? I promise you your environment's going to constantly get upgraded. Your environment is influencing you so much greater than you're even aware of. You want to be around people who set big goals. You want to be around people who root for you, not people who compete against you. So you're going to have to think differently. Now, stretching is part of the deal, and if you're not stretching, you're not growing. If you're not stretching, you're not being courageous. If you're not stretching, you're lying to yourself. But passion, when you're stretching, you are so proud of yourself. It builds self-respect. You know, do you know anybody who's winning big who doesn't have passion? Like, do you know anyone? I don't know anybody who's winning big who's not passionate about what they do. So our job is to find that want and fall in love with it. Not fall in love with why it won't happen. Don't spend a second thinking about why it won't happen. I want you to think from this point on why it will happen. Then all of a sudden, you make the move before you're ready, then all the ideas start coming in. All the ideas will start coming in. But how do you constantly push yourself to your limits? You never do it alone. You never do it by yourself. You have to have the right environment. You never do it alone. You have to understand accountability is a success insurance policy. But once you have it, you're going to be your best accountability partner. Now, you may not be right now, but you will be. You will be your best accountability partner. But I want you to set goals so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into the person that can. What I've discovered through my journey of doing this is when you start measuring the right ideas, it's so easy to become them. Like when I was starting this, I was really studying this hard, but I never took the time to write down what are the behaviors that will match the person you want to be. So then I started writing them down, and I started working on one behavior at a time. Then all of a sudden it became simple. I was working on 1,000 behaviors at a time. So I was really working on none. So once you measure it and you let go and you start working on one behavior, then you work on the next behavior. That's called master stacking. When you master stack, success becomes effortless. Now, I will tell you this. When people talk about effortless success, it's hard in the beginning. It is hard in the beginning. They never talk about that part. It is hard in the beginning because you have to build the new neural pathways and rewire yourself. And that takes discipline. But I will promise you this, it is much easier to create a new model than to change the old model. It is much easier to behave your way into a new identity than it is to think your way into a new identity. It is much easier. I always share this story. I was like, if you guys went to high school with me, I'd be the number one person who would never be up on this stage, ever. But when you get an idea you're in love with, it just takes you over. What if right now you're playing it safe because you're not giving yourself permission to fall in love with what you really want? Because you're more interested in getting your needs met to creating the life you want. See, we have to really go after what we really want more than anything. I don't care if you're doing crypto, I don't care if you're in real estate, I don't care what type of businesses you have. It does not matter the business. The business is always a reflection of you. As you grow, the business grows. And it does not matter how long it takes. Now, I'll get into it later because we want to use time as a tool, because we can increase timelines like Michael did since July. We can increase it significantly, but we have to do things in a certain way. But that means you have to fall in love with your future. Am I in love with my future? For me, I am. But are you? Are you in love with the future, or are you just holding back a little bit? Are you holding back? If you're holding back, you're in love with your past. Most people are in love with their past, even though they say, I want to create much better than my past. They will tell me every reason why they can't do something. They will tell me every reason. Like Owen, what we're working on together, we're falling in love with a much bigger future for you. Falling in love with a much bigger future. You know, you'll know when you're talking to somebody when you light them up inside. The idea is what lights us up. It's not the results. The results are an effect of lighting our soul on fire with the right ideas. So we want to make your future a magnificent obsession. I was talking to you guys earlier about understanding your mind. When you are obsessed about what you want, it's always on your mind. You're in love with this idea. On a conscious level, it will go to the subconscious, and the subconscious will bring it into reality. Our job is to constantly focus on what we want all day long. It's not to focus on it 3 days a week. If we focus on it 3 days a week, we have not accepted that idea. We have not accepted it. When you radically accept the idea, it turns into a magnificent obsession. And you'll know when you radically accepted it because you're never thinking in lack and limitation. You're only thinking of ways that it can be accomplished. When we look for the way shows itself. So this is what we've got to look at. Now, the present right now is meaningless unless you're connected to the future. It is the future that should be dictating the decisions you're making right now. It is the future. Like these next 2 days, you're going to have the opportunity to walk in to much greater decisions that your future self demands. And whether you guys choose to do it or not is going to be up to you. But every decision has to come from your future self, or else you're going to keep creating what you've always created. I think that's a terrible idea, don't you? Like, keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then keep thinking, God, I wake up on Monday, it's got to be different. It's got to be different. You know, your future drives your present. Now, if you don't have a future, that's going to drive your present too. If you don't have big ideas, it's going to drive your present. So everything we're doing right now is driving your present. You're not in this room just to listen to me talk. You're in this room to create massive transformation. What if I told you that quantum leaps are your birthright every 90 days? Would you buy into that? Like, I think every one of you should be creating a quantum leap every 90 days. Now, whether you accept it or not is up to you. But our goals are our vision of the future. So we have to fall in love with the future and design your life masterpiece.